All right, man, let's move on. Let's do some serious stuff, okay? The
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills flamed out once again in the playoffs. It hurts for me to say this, Puma. We're somewhat both Buffalo Bills fans now. We both thought the Bills were going to beat the Bengals and go to the AFC Championship game and probably beat the Chiefs and go to the Super Bowl. But once again, they've fallen short. And I think this game was somewhat embarrassing for the Bills, Puma. Like when the game kicked off, and before most of us even sat down, it's 14-0, and they were lifeless, and you termed the phase quiet quitting. Like I'm just embarrassed for this team, and I don't know where the blame lies. I mean, like it's not one single thing I can point to and say, hey man, this is where it was shortcoming, right? Josh Allen threw 4 picks, or the running attack didn't show up, or the defense didn't show up. It was everything. I feel like everything top to bottom just wasn't up to standard. So Puma, I mean, we're not gonna look back, but let's look forward. Like, what do you think needs to be corrected for this Bills team to find its way into the Super Bowl? Because I'm not saying the window is closing, because anytime you have a young quarterback like Josh Allen, that the window is always going to be there. But I do think there's some decisions that are going to need to be made next year on this roster, and like they need to maximize this core group of players on the team right now.
Well, we're going to start off at the coaching position. I don't think Sean McDermott is, in danger of losing his job this offseason. I think if they have another, let's be honest, this season was an abject failure in everybody's mind because they were the heavy favorites to win the Super Bowl. In some sports books, they were the highest draw for like tickets, for betting tickets. I think almost near 20% of the tickets were on the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl. So this was an abject failure in everybody's minds. They signed Von Miller to put them over the hump on the defensive side of the football to beat Patrick Mahomes. He goes down. The defense, all intents and purposes, starts to wilt. When something like that happens, in my mind, Jay, that's where the coaching staff steps up. And like I said, I don't think Sean McDermott is in danger of losing his job this offseason, but I do think Sean McDermott is going to have the tough conversation with himself of, is Leslie Frazier the guy to continue on the defensive side of the football? Because we talk about this offline. It has been 2 years in a row where this defense, in key moments, and in this case, down the stretch this season and in the playoffs, where they've wilted and they kind of cracked under the pressure. And after watching that Bengals game where they just looked completely inept, Hayden Hurst had no business being wide ass open on a lot of the things. Jamar Chase should have. I understand it's Jamar Chase, but I figured there'd be more of a defensive effort in trying to limit the Jamar Chase experience in Buffalo. And, you figured it's snowing up there, it's going to be in their favor, and that defense just looked lost. And when they finally started clicking on all cylinders, the offense started to, bog them down, and they weren't able to recover. But, the Bills down the stretch, they weren't a playmaking defense as much. They probably should have lost to the Dolphins and their third-string quarterback 2 weeks ago. And I love Leslie Frazier. What he's done in his tenure at the Buffalo Bills as a defensive coordinator has been great. But I think it might be time for maybe a new voice in that locker room for the defensive side of the football.
Has it been great, though? Because I keep hearing this.
I
keep hearing this. Leslie Frazier. Go ahead.
Removing the 13 seconds, and that's all everyone's going to remember, and rightfully so, because they should have, if they, in my opinion, they beat the Chiefs and they go to the Super Bowl, I think they win that Super Bowl regardless. But, the 13 seconds, that's going to be in everybody's minds for the rest of the time. But that defense has been top 5, top 10 in scoring and generating turnovers and getting pressure, even without Von Miller, prior to Von Miller getting there. Matt Milano is an all-world linebacker. Tre'Davious White's probably one of the best cornerbacks the NFL's seen in probably the last 25 years. And Jordan Poyer is one of the better safeties in the NFL. So they had all these dynamic playmakers, but it was in key moments this defense has started to wilt, a la the 13 seconds, a la last week. There was no business they should have lost to the Jets, even with Josh Allen getting hurt. So you have moments like that where that happens.
Well, I'm gonna vehemently disagree on the Leslie Frazier thing, because I keep hearing this over and over again, and it's starting to bug me a little bit, because I get 13 seconds, bro. But how about the play before that? How about the 75-yard touchdown run that Tyreek Hill had? How about the whole game where the Bills defense put up absolutely no fight up against that Chiefs offense last year? And then this year, again, in the biggest moment possible, they put up no fight against Joe Burrow. I believe this defense gets away by beating up on the crappier teams, and the second they play a good offense and a good quarterback, I think it gets carved up. And that is not what Leslie Frazier, that is not the building that Leslie Frazier has been built up to. Everybody pretends like he's this great offensive coordinator. I just don't see it, truthfully, man. Especially with how badly they've looked in the playoffs. Now, the other part of this is, I would also consider looking at how the offensive coordinator is calling plays and the flow of the offense. Now, I'm not saying it's too early to fire Ken Dorsey, but I would really start considering Ken Dorsey's philosophy, and I would maybe help him out with something. Maybe bring in somebody else to help him out, because I think this team is just way too Josh-centric. And maybe that's a doing of Josh himself, where he likes to put the Superman cape on and do what he's got to do on a weekly basis. But I think it's got to be an indictment watching the Chiefs lose Patrick Mahomes, watching Chad Henne go on a 98-yard touchdown drive, and basically the Chiefs offense didn't miss a beat, and in no way can I see the Bills doing that. I think no way, if Josh Allen goes down for anything, they're going to be able to basically fill in a backup and pick up right where Mahomes left off. I think the best way that you can surmise this is the Chiefs. You can really find out the quality and the depth and the foundation of a team when your backup quarterback has to play, and you saw that on full display with Chad Henne. With the Bills, it's the complete opposite. I feel like the second Josh Allen got hurt in the middle of the year, everything started tanking. So I think fundamentally there's a lot more going on here than just Leslie Frazier. I think the offensive coordinator needs to be looked at. Maybe not taking his job title away, but definitely helping him out. And then you got to look at not Brandon Beane, but how they're helping Josh. So I guess maybe it's Brandon Beane, but how are you helping Josh? How are you not still able to surmise a running attack? I mean, I don't know. There's more than just one or two issues that are just kind of bubbling underneath the water here. And I think next year, if there's another loss, I think it's going to be a full-blown meltdown in Buffalo.